Clint Eastwood has worked in Hollywood for a very long time. He started his career as an actor to then develop into a complete author. This video will look at his red thread. A narrative thread connects all his works and runs through the themes he explores. Human relationship is at the foundation of his stories. All his movies are based on human relationships and how they affect characters and push them to make decisions. Every protagonist of his tales meets someone who changes their world, causing them to change and develop or reflect on themselves as human beings. This meeting and relation is the narrative engine that moves the story. Some of these meetings are random or pushed by an external event. Other times, characters will actively look for another. It doesn't matter. What matters is the strength of the meeting and how it changes lives. The clearest example is the relation between Frankie and Maggie in $1 Million Baby. Their meeting profoundly changes them. In this case, it is Maggie that insists that Frankie trains her as a boxer. As a result, they grow affection for each other in a father-daughter relation, creating a supportive environment where they care for each other. Since his natural daughter estranges Frankie, he starts seeing Maggie as a surrogate and does everything he can to help her achieve success as a fighter. Thanks to his support and training, Maggie believes in herself and works much harder to better her technique. Boxing in the movie is shown as a violent sport. Violence in itself is a focal point of his films. Clint Eastwood's view of violence has changed a lot through the years. A constant in his movies, he represents it as a part of life that is impossible to avoid. What changes is the way he looks at it. In his first movies as a director, violence is lived as the only solution to solve problems. A protagonist is a remorseless machine, always represented positively, that does what needs to be done or is just defending himself. However, with time passing, Eastwood changes his view. Violence remains a natural part of life, but indulging in it has consequences. And he shows that to lead that type of life takes a toll on a man. The best example is Unforgiven, where all the male characters are violent or are fascinated by violence. The movie is considered the shift in Eastwood's view. Everyone who partakes or has a past in violence either is incapable of committing any further violent action, rejecting it as a lifestyle, or enjoy using violence to establish superiority. But to every action there is a reaction. There is no divine or karmatic judgment. Simply people respond to what is done to them, resulting in violence even if they have other solutions. Eastwood takes a moral side, describing a world where violence is at its core. You have to decide who you want to be inside that world. In the end, though, it doesn't matter, for violence will only create violence. No matter how pessimistic, there is always a glimmer of hope represented by a character that goes through the events. These characters are capable of making their lives better and learning from their experience. The best example is the character of Saigo in Letter from Iwo Jima. He is one of the few survivors of the battle, making it through the war. He'll be able to spend his life with his wife and child, embracing life and remembering his experience. I highly recommend Flags for Our Fathers and Letter from Iwo Jima, as they are some of Clint Eastwood's most outstanding work, exploring humanity deeply. This was a view of the red threads that connect all Clint Eastwood works. In my opinion, Clint Eastwood has not only demonstrated a marvelous capacity to grow as an artist, starting as an actor and learning along the way to direct, picking up tricks and lessons from people that he worked with like Sergio Leone, but also shown a deep love of cinema in his entirety, reaching the point to be considered one of the best directors in Hollywood. In the video description you'll find a link to a couple of movies so you can check it out yourself. Onward to the next author!